So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. There's Psalm 90:12. The elders say that time is the most silent teacher, and only he who remains in inner silence listens. This is the parable of lost time, told for generations by those who learned the value of discipline too late. There was a young man named Elias, the son of a humble carpenter. From childhood, his father repeated a proverb to him: "He who guards wisdom will prosper." But Elias grew up postponing tasks, leaving for tomorrow what he needed to do today. The sun would set and he would say, "When I am an adult, I will have time." The years passed. Elias opened his own workshop, but he never prospered. He had expensive tools, rare skills, but he lacked something that cannot be bought: inner order. Time slipped through his fingers like water. He promised to deliver furniture and would be late. He planned to expand, but never finished. His clients began to drift away, not for lack of talent, but for lack of constancy. One night, after losing his biggest client, Elias walked aimlessly. The village was silent, the lamps extinguished, and only the moon accompanied him. He came to the old abandoned synagogue, a place where his father had taken him as a child. The rusty gate creaked open. He entered and suddenly remembered his father's voice. "Time waits for no one, my son. The wise man sows it, the fool wastes it." Elias sat on the cold floor and wept. He was not weeping for the lost client, but for the life he had let slip away, for the plans never started, for the dreams that barely lived in intention. There, in the silence, he remembered another proverb: "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Proverbs 21:5. He felt as if God was showing him all the hours he had dishonored, hours that would not return. And in that instant, a truth penetrated his spirit. Time is a seed, and every day sown bears fruit in destiny. He who controls his hours controls his purpose. If you are hearing this story now, perhaps it is no coincidence. Maybe there are areas of life where you promised to change, but the calendar keeps turning. Perhaps, like Elias, you have had talent, ideas, dreams, but you lack the silent discipline that multiplies time. Take a deep breath. Do not condemn yourself. Just understand there is still time. Every day can be numbered with wisdom, and transformation begins with an internal decision that no one sees, but that changes everything. Keep listening. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Psalm 90:12. The elders say that time is the most silent teacher, and only he who remains in inner silence listens. This is the parable of lost time, told for generations by those who learned the value of discipline too late. There was a young man named Elias, the son of a humble carpenter. From childhood, his father repeated a proverb to him: "He who guards wisdom will prosper." But Elias grew up postponing tasks, leaving for tomorrow what he needed to do today. The sun would set and he would say, "When I am an adult, I will have time." The years passed. Elias opened his own workshop, but he never prospered. He had expensive tools, rare skills, but he lacked something that cannot be bought: inner order. Time slipped through his fingers like water. He promised to deliver furniture and would be late. He planned to expand but never finished. His clients began to drift away, not for lack of talent, but for lack of constancy. One night, after losing his biggest client, Elias walked aimlessly. The village was silent, the lamps extinguished, and only the moon accompanied him. He came to the old abandoned synagogue, a place where his father had taken him as a child. The rusty gate creaked open. He entered and suddenly remembered his father's voice: "Time waits for no one, my son. The wise man sows it, the fool wastes it." Elias sat on the cold floor and wept. He was not weeping for the lost client, but for the life he had let slip away, for the plans never started, for the dreams that barely lived in intention. There, in the silence, he remembered another proverb: "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Proverbs 21:5. He felt as if God was showing him all the hours he had dishonored, hours that would not return. And in that instant, a truth penetrated his spirit. Time is a seed, and every day sown bears fruit in destiny. He who controls his hours controls his purpose. If you are hearing this story now, perhaps it is no coincidence. Maybe there are areas of life where you promised to change, but the calendar keeps turning. Perhaps, like Elias, you have had talent, ideas, dreams, but you lack the silent discipline that multiplies time. Take a deep breath. Do not condemn yourself. Just understand, there is still time. Every day can be numbered with wisdom, and transformation begins with an internal decision that no one sees, but that changes everything. Keep listening. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. Proverbs 21:5. As the days passed, Elias began to notice something strange. The more he ordered his time, the more peace his heart had. Before, he lived exhausted, like someone running without getting anywhere. But now every morning had direction. It wasn't a rigid discipline, but a conscious surrender. One day, while sanding a table, he heard a soft voice within himself. "Don't waste time explaining what you can prove with fruit." Elias stopped. He had spent years justifying his lack of results, blaming circumstances, waiting for ideal conditions. And now he understood. Wisdom doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It builds with the present moment. He recalled Proverbs 14:23. "In all labor there is profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty." That verse confronted him deeply. He had invested his energy in talking, reacting, postponing. But now he was learning to sow time in silent work, realistic planning, and faithful execution. Each day he noted his hours, not to control, but to honor the time God had entrusted to him. He began to realize that the small seeds, 5 minutes of prayer, 10 minutes of reflection, half an hour of execution, multiplied productivity and purpose. One evening, an old client arrived. He had heard that Elias's workshop had changed. He looked at the newly finished table and said, "You can tell when someone works with wisdom." Those words touched something deep. They weren't just talking about the furniture. They were talking about the invisible transformation that starts inside. Elias returned home and opened the Bible. He found Proverbs 3:13-16. "Blessed is the man who finds wisdom. Length of days is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor." There he understood, wisdom doesn't just change results. It changes the relationship with time. The wise man's days are multiplied. Perhaps you too have felt that you lack time. Maybe you are always running, meeting commitments, struggling to build a future. But time is not multiplied by speed, but by direction. Every hour sown with intention turns into destiny. Every disciplined decision opens invisible doors. Silence order. Purpose, that is managing time according to God's wisdom. Listen carefully. It doesn't matter how many years have passed. What matters is what you are going to sow from now on. Keep listening. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Proverbs 4:7. Elias continued his silent journey. As he managed his time better, he began to notice small victories. A project finished ahead of schedule, a night of true rest, a dialogue without impulsiveness. It seemed little, but in the spiritual world, something was stirring. Because God does not multiply the time of those who waste minutes with anxiety. He multiplies the time of the one who honors every hour as a divine gift. One day, as he walked towards the workshop, he found a young apprentice sitting in the street, surrounded by broken pieces of wood. His eyes reflected frustration. "What happened?" Elias asked. "I don't have enough time to finish my commissions," the young man replied, almost weeping. Elias sat down beside him. Calmly he said, "Time is not the problem. It is the way you sow it." Listen to a proverb. "A wise man scales the city of the mighty and brings down the stronghold in which they trust." Proverbs 21:22. "Do you see?" Elias continued. "The fortress of the valiant is not stone or iron. It is the illusion of controlling time without wisdom," the apprentice cried. Elias embraced him and spoke with a firm voice. "I also lost years. I promised much and did little. I talked and postponed. And I almost lost my destiny because I didn't know how to manage my hours." The young man looked up and asked, "And what changed?" Elias took a deep breath. I measured each day as God teaches, not to have more time, but to reveal who I was becoming with each decision. I understood that lost time is not restored by human effort, but God redeems the time of the wise man who repents and disciplines himself. That day, Elias invited the apprentice to begin his own journey. He opened a notebook and wrote on the first page, "Today I begin to number my days." And below, he wrote a proverb, "A wise man will hear and will increase learning." Proverbs 1:5. From that small decision, Elias saw something extraordinary. When time is managed with spiritual diligence, doors open without demanding force. It is like sowing in secret and reaping in public. Perhaps you now feel that time is slipping away, that life is rushing and opportunities are passing. But listen, God redeems the time of the one who decides to number his days with wisdom. Nothing is lost while there is a willing heart. And there are tools to cultivate wisdom daily, without distraction, without forgetting promises, without letting go of purpose. It is silent discipline, a daily journey. Keep listening. The soul of the sluggard desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. Proverbs 13:4. Elias and the apprentice began working together. They did not speak of grand goals. They did not dream of fame. They started with something deeper, sanctifying time. Every morning, before touching the wood, they would open the scriptures and read a verse, not to fulfill a ritual, but to remember that wisdom begins within, where no one sees. Weeks passed, and although the workshop remained small, something great was being born within them: spiritual order, mental clarity, and constancy. One day, a rich client arrived unexpectedly. He sought a master carpenter to build an exclusive piece for an important hall. He looked around and asked, "What guarantees that you will deliver the work on time?" Elias remained silent for a few seconds, not out of doubt, but because he had learned to answer only after thinking. "Nothing in this world guarantees tomorrow," he said with a serene voice, "but one who manages his time well honors God and delivers what is promised." The man was intrigued. He was not used to such answers. Elias opened a Bible he kept nearby and read, "The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of sense." Proverbs 10:21. The client, surprised by that wisdom, decided to trust. He left a generous deposit and departed. When the door closed, the apprentice asked, "Master, why did we convince him?" Elias replied, "Because we spoke from truth. We did not sell him speed, but wisdom. People seek results, but what truly heals the human soul is purpose." The apprentice remained silent, reflecting. Elias continued, "To sow time with wisdom, it is not enough to control the schedule. It is necessary to control the heart, because time is lost when the correct hour is used with the wrong intention." He then recalled Proverbs 16:3, "Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established." Elias knew that managing his hours was not just discipline, it was worship. Every minute dedicated with purpose was a spiritual act. And thus, he understood something profound, that the wisdom of Proverbs is not only intended to teach, but to transform the destiny of those who practice it daily. And when he understood that, he decided to record his journey. Every day, a reflection, every teaching, a written seed, because he knew that the world is full of those who forget quickly, but those who write down, remember, practice, and multiply wisdom. Perhaps you also need to record your journey, not out of obligation, but to honor your time. Because he who writes awakens, he who notes perceives, and he who perseveres transforms his destiny. Keep listening.
The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Proverbs 22 verse 3. As the days passed, Elias began to perceive a spiritual pattern. Every time he managed his time with wisdom, new opportunities appeared. They were not coincidences. It was a consequence. Silent discipline was opening doors that had previously remained closed. One morning, while reviewing the notebook where he logged his day, he found the first phrase he had written: "Today I begin to number my days." Reading those words, He felt a tremor. He remembered who he was before that decision, a man driven by urgency, not purpose, a dreamer without seed, someone who expected results without planting discipline. Now, looking at his pages full of numbered hours, written goals, biblical reflections, and small daily conquests, Elias understood that he had not changed the past, but he had redeemed the time. Proverbs 16 verse 32. That verse revealed the key that transformed his story. True power is not in conquering great things, but in mastering one's own soul, governing impulses, filtering words, choosing priorities. One night, while they worked in silence, the apprentice broke down crying. Elias, concerned, asked what had happened. "Master," the young man said, "I fear I have lost too much time. I feel my destiny has been delayed." He finally replied, "Do not fear the time you have lost. Fear the time you keep losing. For while there is life, God redeems. What man surrenders with discipline, the Lord multiplies with grace." He took his notebook and showed the young man the first page. "Today I begin to number my days." "You write too," Elias said. "Destiny does not change in an instant. It changes through days sown with wisdom." The apprentice took the pencil with trembling hands and wrote, "Today I surrender my time to the Lord." It is a covenant. .it is a spiritual surrender to live out one's purpose. Perhaps, as you listen to this, something within you has also awakened. Perhaps you have felt your time slipping away, that the days pass and dreams remain on hold. But remember, God does not ask for perfection. He asks for surrender. He does not demand speed. He asks for faithfulness. The wisdom of Proverbs invites us to sow each day with divine intention. To write, to watch. To order. Because whoever sows time with diligence harvests destiny. And there is a way to cultivate daily wisdom, step by step, without forgetting promises, without losing purpose, strengthening inner discipline. Keep listening. The hands of the diligent make rich, but the idle hand brings poverty. Proverbs 10 verse 4. A year passed since that silent night in the abandoned synagogue. Elias was not the same. His workshop prospered. His relationships grew stronger. Not because he worked more, but because he had learned to sow each day with wisdom. One afternoon, the apprentice leafed through the old notebook and asked, "Master, how will I know if I am managing my time well?" Elias smiled and replied calmly, "When you see invisible fruit growing inside, when your words become few and your actions constant, when your days do not just pass, but accumulate." The apprentice reflected and said, "Accumulate days?" Elias then explained something his father had taught him decades ago. Destiny is not built in months. It is built in some days. At every dawn, an invisible brick is placed. He who wastes days does not lose hours, he loses future. The apprentice fell silent. Elias opened the Bible and read, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." Proverbs 10 verse 4. Then he said, "Knowing how to manage time is a way of obeying divine wisdom. Because God places before us 24 hours, every day, the same for the poor and the rich. The difference is not in the quantity, but in how we sow." And as he spoke those words, the apprentice felt a holy weight in his heart, as if the Spirit was calling him to abandon the habits that enslaved him: anxiety, comparison, dispersion. That night, he decided to establish a daily commitment. He wrote in his own notebook, "Today I count my hours as seeds. May each one produce purpose." And he signed the page. He knew that this was the decision that transforms destinies, daily spiritual discipline. Because wisdom does not enter scattered hearts. Discipline is not born in rush minds. Purpose is not revealed to those who postpone time. There is a narrow path reserved for those who count their days with diligence. And he who walks it, though slowly, will see multiplied that which he gives. Perhaps you also feel that you need to begin a daily journey. Not to run, but to count. Not to speak, but to sow. And there are words, reflections, and practices that strengthen this journey day after day. One seed at a time. Keep listening.
The wise man awaits the opportune time, but the fool wastes the day. A paraphrase based on Proverbs months past, and the pages of the apprentice's notebook filled with dates, reflections, and small acts of discipline. They were not great conquests, but every line written was a seed sown in the soil of destiny. One morning, while both were working, an unexpected storm struck the village. Many businesses closed. People ran desperately to protect what they had built with so much effort. But something surprising happened. Elias's workshop remained firm, not because it was physically stronger, but because it had been built with inner wisdom. Every daily decision had strengthened invisible foundations. When the storm ceased, neighbors approached. They wanted to understand how that small workshop resisted where others had yielded. Elias replied, "Because time sown with purpose bears fruit on the day of affliction." He took the Bible and read, "By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established." Proverbs 24:3 silence fell over the place. Everyone understood that prosperity did not come only from skill, but from discipline sown day after day. One of the neighbors asked, "How do I learn that wisdom?" Elias opened the apprentice's notebook. Its pages were full of markings, reflections, verses, completed tasks, and others that would need changes. "That's how it begins," said Elias, "with a daily journey, not of information but of transformation." The neighbor touched the filled pages and took a deep breath. "I never thought a simple notebook could hold a destiny." Elias spoke firmly. "It is not the notebook, it is the daily seed. It is recording each day, organizing thought, measuring time, practicing discipline, and letting God's wisdom guide every step. When you honor your days, He honors your works." The people began to take notes in silence, as if something deep was awakening within them. Perhaps whoever is listening to this parable now also needs to start a written, daily, silent journey, guided by the wisdom of the Word. Because the days pass, but the seed remains. Elias looked at the apprentice and said, "Never forget, time is the greatest treasure God gives us. He who learns to sow it with wisdom transforms destiny." And so ends the parable of lost time, not as a tragedy but as a calling. For those who decide to number their days with wisdom, the story is just beginning. Breathe, listen, and follow the path that discipline reveals every sunrise. Every day a seed, every reflection a door. Every minute a divine choice to build destiny. The wise man keeps the words in his heart, but meditates on them day and night. Proverbs. Elias's story ends where wisdom begins, in the awareness of time. Because time is not falling sand, but a seed that God entrusts to us. And now, after hearing this parable, perhaps something within you has awakened, a silent sensation, as if a spiritual door has opened. Maybe you remember lost hours, postponed decisions, dreams stored away in the tomorrow drawer. But listen with your heart, there is still time. While you breathe, there is a possibility to redeem the past days. Not with guilt, but with discipline. Because wisdom is not revealed to the one who runs, but to the one who counts. Think of Elias once more. He did not transform his destiny in an instant, but day after day, silently noting, reflecting, sowing minutes with purpose. That secret is hidden in Proverbs. Wisdom does not enter through information, but through daily repetition. That is why the world is full of people who know, but few who practice. So I will leave you with a question to stay with you today. What will you sow with your next 24 hours? Perhaps you need to start in writing, as Elias and his apprentice did. Recording each day, observing your steps, aligning your decisions. It is curious how something simple can change entire destinies when practiced with fidelity. Elias discovered that counting his days was not a human exercise, but a spiritual one. Every sunrise became an opportunity for sowing. Every reflection, an invisible brick in the future he would build. And you, now that you have heard this parable, can decide to move forward with that silent discipline. Because he who watches time watches his purpose. And he who honors his purpose honors God. Before closing this video, take a minute and look inward. Your time has been given by God, just like a precious gift. Do not waste it with distractions. Use each day as a seed planted in good soil. And if you want a daily guide to count your days with wisdom, discover that there is guidance, reflection, and word for every sunrise. May the Lord grant you discipline, clarity, and purpose. May he teach your heart to count the days with wisdom, and may every minute sown today lead you to the destiny he prepared. If this parable spoke to you, stay. The journey has just begun. Share your reflection, leave your thought, and continue with us. In the end, every word of yours is a seed that can awaken another heart thirsty for wisdom.